Welcome to the TVHM part of this video. TVHM stands for True Vault Hunter mode and can be thought of as the New Game Plus for Borderlands 2, meaning the enemies will have more health and do more damage to you. You'll also encounter some different enemy types, which can really ruin your day if you're not careful. I'm looking at you, rabbit skags. Also, starting in TVHM, I'd highly recommend that you get familiar with the slag mechanic if you haven't already. It won't matter too terribly much in TVHM, but it will become a necessity in UVHM, so it's best if you get used to it now. Since I already did a long introduction at the start of the first video, I won't be going over it here again. The same goes for skips. I explained most of them in the previous video, so I won't be showing them off again. In general, I recommend watching that video first, since that can clear up some questions you might have. Here I'm just going over all the gear that we found in normal mode, as well as my skill tree. This guide assumes that you have all that gear available. Alright, let's get into the actual guide. Hope you enjoy. With the way TVHM works, it'll be a lot faster than normal mode. So starting out, you just want to follow the main mission. If you remember, we farmed to around level 37.5 in the previous video. This is because we want to scale the In Memoriam quest to level 38, which is its maximal level. But the scaling works a bit differently than it does in normal mode. While there it relies on the level you're at when turning the main mission into Lilith, here it depends on the level you're at when first entering Three Horns Divide. Not sure why they decided to do it that way, but that's just how it is. I recommend killing Flynn from a distance using the Pimpernel you have and the B-Shield. Here I tried the same strategy we did in normal mode, just with the Lady Fist. As you can see, it didn't really work out too great, but in the end I still got the kill, so it's all good. So you want to follow the main mission and make sure you're level 38 by the time you turn the mission into Claptrap. Then we make our way to Sanctuary and straight to Lilith. TVHM works a bit oddly when it comes to fast travel stations, so there are some that you can instantly unlock if you just save quit once or twice. So you can skip driving there and just travel there instantly. Frostburn is one of those maps. Once we save Lilith, we get the quest to the fastball, farm that, as well as a Herald. The Herald is just a really strong pistol and will carry us through most of this playthrough. Once we get those, we'll go meet Ali and get the parts. There are two things to note about cars in this game. As you progress through the game modes, the cars don't really scale with you, so the health will become kind of irrelevant. Secondly, for some reason, if you get into your car with the B-Shield equipped, it will apply the amp damage to your car's shots, which makes getting the parts really easy. The same applies to the crit damage of the Lady Fist, by the way. Same as the B, it'll be applied to the shots of your car. Now when at Bloodshot, as we did in normal mode, we'll farm Badmo. Here we'll farm until level 43. Not only is this a very comfortable level to progress very far into TVHM without having to farm for XP again, but it also allows us to max out Grenadier. With the boost from our class mod, we'll have a lot of grenades at our disposal now. Once we're at 43, we'll do the same thing we did in normal mode. We go to Rotgut Distillery and get a new adaptive shield. Then we can just push through most of the story without having to stop. So here we go. We save Roland from the big toaster. Here we can save quit again to go straight to Tundra Express. Meet Tina, get the rockets, blow up the train, will kill Helm, get Sanctuary in the air, and get to the fridge. Here again, we can skip the entire fridge by just save quitting and fast traveling to the outbush. Here we'll have to fight the Thresher and get the travel unit. Now here we can save quit twice to have Overlook unlock instantly. It's a bit weird since there's no actual fast travel station there yet, but just don't worry about it. Once Overlook is done, we grab the next main mission and Doctor's Orders. Again, as in normal mode, I don't bother farming the midgets, but if you want to, you can. For most of the boss fights, I just use the B I have and the Lady Fist, so we do that just for Bloodwing. Then we meet Brick, do his thing, and go to Opportunity. Before I do the bunker, I like to farm some more XP, since at this point we will be a bit underleveled. For this, I just use the Snowman Headhunter that we used at the end of normal mode. The B you have should work for the kill, but if the Snowman does make it to the elevator, you can kinda hide right beside it, and you'll be far enough away that his attacks won't reach you. I farm here until around 46.5, since I want to be level 47 by the time we get back to Sanctuary to scale the Heartbreaker quest, as we did in normal mode. I put the points we get here into Sentry. Once we're done with the farming, we do the entire bunker sequence. The bunker fight itself might take a bit longer than it did in normal mode, but with our boost to grenade damage, the Herald should still work comfortably for this. The control core is also pretty much the exact same as it was in normal mode. It's really nothing noteworthy. After Roland takes over with the Jack, we get the mission from Marcus. Killing Blue is a lot easier now since, for some reason, even though grenades usually can't hit crits, they can on the legs of Crystalisks. So if you pair the 800% crit of the Lady Fizzer with a fastball, we can kill Blue without any issues. Turning it into Moxie again so we can farm for matching Rip Heartbreaker. With that acquired, we go to the Iridium Blight and then to Sawtooth, but again, not doing Sawtooth just yet. I like to get one more level so that I can finish the main story without doing any more XP farming. And since the scaling doesn't work in TVHM as it does in normal mode, I can't just go and farm Mobley and Gettle, so I'll just do King Wong. I mean, the chance at the bada boom is nothing to scoff at anyway. When at 48, we go and make our way through Sawtooth. After maxing out Sentry, I put the points into the capstone of the tree. The additional slag from the turret or turrets is going to be really helpful moving forward. The Heartbreaker should be strong enough so that you don't have any issues with this map. Really the only thing to look out for is that this map is known for throwing some really nasty enemies your way. So if you see any enemy holding a launcher or even two of them, get rid of them immediately. After that, we head to the Boneyard and, again, farm for a B-Shield, finally upgrading our old one. Now here I would recommend getting one that you can use instantly, so level 48 or lower. It really doesn't matter which kind you get, since we'll be replacing it after beating the story anyway. I use a bit of a different strat here to kill Hellquist. We can stun lock him by running him over with a car and having the B-Shield and Lady Fist equipped. Use the fact that those bonuses apply in a car and kill Hellquist quite easily. Speaking of beating the story, starting UVHM you want to be as close to level 50 as possible, as to not face issues there, since the UVHM enemies will scale to your level, but TVHM caps out at 50. So going into UVHM and facing, say, level 57 enemies with level 50 guns will not be a fun time. This is why, going forward for the rest of TVHM, I will be doing all of the farming with it read-only as to not gain any experience, starting with this very farm right here. Once we got the new B-Shield, we make our way through the pumping stations and over to Saturn. For killing the giant robot, I recommend using your Slack Pimpernel or the Herald, either will work. For general combat though, I recommend using the Lady Fist. After getting the warrior's location, we make our way to the hero's pass. As in normal mode, I suggest hiding behind this crate and focusing on the better surveyors once they spawn. Hero's pass is just the same as it was in normal mode. Look out for enemies with RPGs and get through. When reaching level 49, I start putting my points into preparation. The Jack and Warrior fight also work the same as they did in normal mode. Just hide behind the rock, use the slagger to break the chest and slag it, then the Lady Fist to kill it. Now, if you haven't already done so in normal mode, you can use this moonshot to farm for a fire conference call. And with that, the TVHM story is beaten. GG's. But there's still quite a bit on the farming list before we start UVHM. First, awesome upgrade. TVHM works in a way where once you beat the main story, everything is scaled to level 50. We can use that to get some gear before starting UVHM. First, a new B-Shield. I told you we'd be getting a new one soon. Then, a new fastball and Herald. They will be very useful for a lot of the UVHM playthrough. For the fastball, I recommend getting an explosive one. Then I go to Southpaw's Team and Power and found the ammo vendor there for a Longbow Zero Fuse Tesla. Teslas are really good for healing with Moxie guns and to block projectiles. Well, generally I stick to the fastball on Axton. For the things I have planned in early UVHM, a Tesla is nice to have on hand. Also, while farming here, you can also farm for the Zero Fuse singularities I mentioned in a previous video, if you haven't found them already. Once that's done, we go to Oasis. I didn't go here before because I wanted it to scale to level 50, mainly the Grendel quest, to get a class mod with the max skill bonuses. Getting to the Grendel mission itself is pretty similar to how it was in normal mode, with one key difference though. Remember how I said that the car's health doesn't really scale that well with progressing levels? Yeah, if you drive over one of the worms here, it'll do some stupid damage to your boat. So instead of dealing with the attacking boats at Scarlet fairly, I just jump up the ship with my boat and kill them from here. Just makes it easier. Now with the Grendel mission, there are two options for class mods that we can take. They are really more of a utility mod, but will be super useful for the entire rest of this character. But before we go farm that, I go and kill Sandman, just so we don't have to come back. Then I go farm the class mod. You want either an Assault Shock Trooper or an Assault Rifleman class mod. Both of these can give you +6 boost to Onslaught. This will give you 11 out of 5 in Onslaught and 132% movement speed when a kill skill is active. But how do we get kill skills on demand? Obviously, there's simply the option to, kill enemies, but Axton thankfully has a different way to trigger kill skills. We can use the Gemini skill in the survival tree to spawn 2 turrets, and for some reason, if you recall the first turret before the second one has hit the surface, the game will count that as a kill and give you your kill skills, so we can pair that with Onslaught and get the movement speed whenever we want.
Sentry deployed!
Once we have the ability to go fast, I progress the Scarlet DLC until I get to the Pimpernel farm. Here I want a matching Rip Shock one, since it'll be very useful for the start of UVHM. After obtaining that, I go back to normal mode and farm the Sheriff again, just to get a better Sheriff's badge. Then it's on to the last thing I get in TVHM before I start the next playthrough, a decent fire Lady Fist. This version of the Lady Fist will not only be useful early on in UVHM, but can also be very useful very late into the run. Once we got that, we all geared up to take on UVHM. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. I hope you are excited about the UVHM video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you around.